you care about. WLBB, Carrollton, News Talk 1330, FM 106.3.
Well, good Friday morning. Welcome to the WLBB Community Voice program here on News Talk 1330 FM 106.3. And this morning we are streaming live on the News Talk 1330 WLBB Facebook page. Thanks to Joel Brock for handling the cameras this morning. Steve Graddick punching the buttons behind the glass there. Following the announcement that District 18 State Representative Kevin Cook would not be seeking re-election in 2020 in order to run for the District 14 congressional seat, our guest announced that she would seek the Republican nomination to serve Georgia's 18th District in the Georgia House of Representatives. Now, she's one of 4 candidates in all for that seat. Election day, we hope. We're expecting it's going to be May the 19th. That's still the plan at this point. I'll tell you the 3 Republican candidates and 1 Democrat candidate, so this race is going to go the whole year. Lane Daniel out of Bremen, he qualified. Tyler Paul Smith, who was a guest on a previous program, he had qualified, as well as Cason Hightower, who is our guest this morning. And thank you for coming out.
Thank you for having me.
Amid the coronavirus fears and
yes.
trusting that the Lysol and little hand sanitizer will protect us.
Yes,
in the
I appreciate you spraying
morning.
the microphone and everything for me. That was
Absolutely.
very nice.
We'll give Joel Brock the kudos.
Thank you
For that. Well, let's talk about the interest in campaigning, seeking
Sure.
this seat. Did that just pop up with Kevin's announcement? Is it something that you think you've had an interest in for quite a while? Because we could talk about your background, and I think
Sure.
that would make sense to me that you had this interest. But yeah,
Sure.
how did you
Absolutely.
get this interest?
You know, I think my first interest in politics really started when I was about 8 years old in the 2000 election. I remember I was a 3rd grader at Carrollton Elementary, and we had our own election day for the presidential race.
Who was the teacher there? You remember that time?
Miss Armistead. And I was very nervous about who I was going to vote for. And I came home and I asked my parents, okay, who do we vote for? And my dad was like, that's not the way this works. We're going to ask you a series of questions and then we'll tell you who you align with. And my parents were just really good that way. They've never told me who they were voting for, but they've just asked me what my beliefs are and then kind of explained to me what the candidates believed at that time. And I remember going into school and I was very confident in my vote for George W. Bush in 2000. And ever since then, it's been a passion of mine. So I went on to the University of Alabama and studied politics, went on to Capitol Hill to work for Representative Lynn Westmoreland for a number of years before he retired, and got my graduate degree up there in political management.
And that's how you and I met, 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago
yeah,
when you were
I
like
was in
16 years old. And you also worked with Maddie Brass, who was...
I did.
Yeah.
Yes. Matt was actually my boss, so I've learned a lot between Lynn and Matt Brass. They've been very good stewards to me.
Cason Hightower is our guest on this morning's Community Voice program. Questions or comments, feel free to call us at 678-601-8255, 678-601-TALK, or you can post your comments and questions on the News Talk 1330 WLBB Facebook page, and I'll take a look at those here shortly and pass those along. So if you have questions or comments, try and get them in here before the break in about 6 or 7 minutes. You've got a website up already?
I do, CasonHightower.com.
And you do list a lot of things that the attention getters that, and I assume they mean that these are important to you, important issues.
Right.
First one, economy and jobs.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, when I moved home from Washington, D.C., I came home to work for our family business, and I am the 4th generation to represent our family in funeral service. And we are very proud to have been serving this community for over 92 years. And I really believe that the backbone of Carroll County and Haralson County is our small businesses. And I want to do everything I can on the state level to attract those small businesses to our community and even larger industry to West Georgia instead of Atlanta. And I believe that the governor and the General Assembly are doing a lot of things to make Georgia the #1 place in the nation to do business. But there are things that we could do to attract them to West Georgia specifically.
And do you have ideas?
I do. I think, we've got a great education system here, and I think just a great community of it's a place that people would want to raise a family. And I think highlighting that on a state level for some of these bigger corporations or small businesses, and just really highlighting what we've got going on here in our community would really attract them to this area.
Gangs and, drugs, seems like there's a different drug every 2 years. It becomes a big problem with
Absolutely.
Georgia. But gangs has been a big topic over the last few years. That's something else that it seems like your campaign is going to focus.
It is just really, growing up in Carroll County, I want our kids to have the same experience growing up that I did. And I think we've got to crack down on the gang activity and on drugs. I've got a radio ad with you guys that talks about opioids, and that is a real passion of mine. 142 people die every day in this nation due to drug overdose. Let's see, it's 560,000 people died between 1990 and 2015 in this nation, and that is more than the population of Atlanta. It's a real pandemic in this country, and it's something that we've got to really crack down on and take a strong look at. And
a lot of us, we hear those figures and we read the news stories, about that going on, and may not know people that's really affecting. But I'd say your family and your business.
Absolutely.
You're seeing the people that are passing away because of it, and you're seeing how that affects their family.
Absolutely, yeah. Sitting across the table from a family who's trying to make arrangements for someone who has died of an opioid overdose is, it's heartbreaking anytime you're sitting across from a family making those arrangements. But you see the tolls that it takes on the families in this community, and the way that it affects them for years to come, and that it's really touched my heart, and it's something that I really want to focus on.
Cason Hightower, our guest on this morning's Community Voice program. She's one of 3 Republican candidates running for that District 18 seat to represent the District 18th District here in Georgia, following Kevin Cook's announcement he would not seek re-election this year. District 18, what are the boundaries for that?
So we go the majority of Haralson County, the very north sliver we don't cover, and then a good portion of Carroll County, we come down Lovern Road, Indian Creek, that area, cover Oak Mountain Park, Oak Mountain Golf, so kind of
it's just
around.
funny to think about that line coming on down Lovern Road.
I know, absolutely.
The separation. So, yeah, it's a good portion of Carrollton and a good majority of Haralson County. So,
yes, sir.
I do encourage our listeners this morning in Haralson County to pay attention to this race as well. It covers Bremen.
It does.
As well.
Yes, sir.
And I'll we were going to talk about maybe some issues that are going on in legislation this year in Georgia, but not a lot going on. Right now there's nothing going on, but
right.
They haven't even made it to the halfway point. So there
right.
weren't a lot of things that were brought up. Budget was a big discussion, education. Perhaps that gambling bill came up, so maybe we'll ask you about that
sure.
a little bit after this break. We will take our first break right now. Again, Cason Hightower, our guest on this morning's Community Voice program, one of 3 Republican candidates running for State Representative District 18. Election Day is the 19th of May. That's
May
what it's
19th.
planned for
Fingers
right now.
crossed.
And
Fingers
early
crossed,
voting
May
will be
19th.
like the 27th of April.
April 27th, my birthday, so do me a favor, go give me a birthday present and vote early.
I was thinking this, we were driving down Noonan Road this morning, and I was thinking that, you're used to seeing your family's name up on big signs,
right,
and everything else. But there's a house down here the road on Noonan Road with
yes.
the big Cason Hightower sign.
Yes.
So I thought that it was like, you're used to seeing that. It's no big deal. I also should mention Democrat candidate Pat Rudy. She qualified as well, so that means there will be this race will go on to the general election. But 3 Republican candidates on the ballot, and we've had the chance to speak with Tyler Paul Smith. We did a Community Voice with him actually before qualifying. So if you want to compare these initial 2 candidates after this program, you can do so. You can go back in our archives and dig that one up. And, of course, we'll have our interview with Cason up forever after we finish that this morning. Questions and comments, 678-601-8255, 678-601-TALK. Or you can post your questions and comments to the News Talk 1330 WLBB Facebook page. We'll take our first break. Have more Community Voice after this.
At Oak Mountain Academy, our academic excellence shines through innovation and a personalized educational experience. Our pre-K 3 through 12th grade environment offers a family-oriented atmosphere. We are an independent school with faith-based values and an academy honor code. Our academic standards prepare our students for college and beyond. I'm Patrick Duran, headmaster, inviting you to visit us on the mountain or at oakmountain.us. Come see how our warriors are creating legacies.
At Tanner, we care about your health, so please wash your hands often with soap and water for at least 20 seconds, especially before eating, after bathroom breaks, blowing your nose, and after coughing or sneezing. If soap and water aren't available, use a hand sanitizer. Avoid touching your face with unwashed hands. Clean and disinfect surfaces and objects often. Cover your coughs and sneezes with a tissue or the crook of your elbow. Avoid people who are sick and stay home when you are sick, except to get medical care. See more ways to stay well online at tanner.org.
Welcome back to the WLBB Community Voice program here on News Talk 1330, FM 106.3. And this morning we are streaming live on the News Talk 1330 WLBB Facebook page. Appreciate those of you tuning in. Good group of you popping up there this morning. Comments already posted on here. Mindy Cavender Burke says good luck, and she loves you and your family. William Keskis, and this is he's asking the question that we were going to lead off this segment with: how can anybody campaign in this corona environment? How is that affecting your campaign?
I will tell you it's a little more difficult. Everything I learned in my master's program at George Washington about campaigning has kind of gone to the side. So those door-to-door meetings and every speaking engagement I had lined up has currently been canceled. So I will tell you guys I'm going to be on social media a lot more, just trying to get my message out there, hopefully doing some short videos to kind of get all of my talking points out there. But what I would really like to tell people is I still want to hear from you. So reach out to me on Facebook. Our Facebook page is Cason Hightower for State House, or my cell phone number, which is 770-537-7449. Give me a call. Tell me your concerns, because I still want to hear those. But it is, public health is way more important than politics. So I am very cautious of everything that's going on, and the last thing I wanted to do was put anyone in danger, still going door to door. And think about when you got into politics in you say in 2000. I can imagine you being excited about that and maybe thinking about this coming up. And it's, been thinking a lot over the last week about how the coronavirus is affecting maybe seniors in high school, how they're missing out on their last opportunity to do things. But I guess if you were excited about, seeking a political position and you had the opportunity to campaign, it was coming up, and this kind of, wipes that away. Right. I mean, it takes that away from you, that opportunity to go out and shake hands and meet everybody. Cason Hightower, our guest on this morning's Community Voice. Let's talk about public service. Okay. With Hightower, you have the opportunity to work with a lot of local civic groups and nonprofits, and one of them, you're on the board of directors with CASA. I am.
Carroll County CASA.
Yes. When I came home to work at our family business, I really wanted to get involved in something outside of just our business. And my mom challenged me to pick some things I was passionate about and do those, because she said you're going to get asked to do a lot of things. And if you're not really passionate about those issues, sometimes it can just feel like work. One thing I'm super passionate about is the children in this community. So I went through and kind of picked the boards that I felt like I could really bring some passion to. And one of those was Carroll County CASA. The other was Carroll County Boys and Girls Club. And I just really believe that those two organizations, you guys have all probably heard that the Carroll County Boys and Girls Club is no longer, but I will tell you we are still trying to figure out how to place those children that were attending our club in after-school programming and summer programs. So that is something that our board is still very passionate about, and we are still working toward finding a solution for. But those two programs offer kids the opportunity to succeed and to thrive, and they place them with mentors or advocates that are really just there for that child. And they're just both very important organizations that are near and dear to my heart.
At least a couple times in this conversation you talked about your parents. I mean, kind of setting your path a little bit. I mean, they're probably pretty influential in your life, I'm guessing.
Very
still.
Influential. Yeah, they are.
You'll keep them.
I'll keep them around for a little while. They were, my best friends when I was in college, and now working alongside both of them every day. We're very, very close. So
you worked with Lynn Westmoreland. Was that 2 years?
4 years.
4 years.
Yep. All the way from a scheduling White House tours to deputy chief of staff when he retired. So worked in a variety of capacities.
What can you take from that? What can you think of, the big one thing or two things that you take from that experience, 4 years, in Washington?
Lynn is a great teacher. You guys had him on the show a lot, and when you talk to him, he was just a real guy. He was a true businessman. And I think one of the most respected members of Congress during his time there, because I think he was a true statesman and he was a true representative for his area. He listened to people's concerns, and that's what he took to D.C. And I think, I remember being a staff assistant, and people would call into his office on issues, and he wanted you to tally every time someone was for or against an issue. And at the end of the day, you took him all those tallies, and here's the number for, here's the number against. And that's what he took when he went to vote. And so it's that kind of stuff, and just really being in tune to what the people in your district, your constituents are saying, that I really remember.
What are the constituents saying? You did mention that right now on social media, you're encouraging them to reach out to you. Mm-hmm. Are you getting some phone calls? Are you getting communication? And what are they saying? What are their concerns?
I am. I think right now coronavirus is on the forefront of everyone's mind. And I will say that I think Governor Kemp is doing a great job in addressing this crisis, but I know a lot of people are very concerned about the small businesses in our community and what they're going through during this time. So what they can do to help support them. And I've just been saying, while you need to keep your social distancing, there are other things that you can do. I know you had Daniel Jackson on yesterday with the chamber, but just kind of echoing what he's been saying with buy gift cards and use them later. I went ahead and bought gift cards for my mom for Mother's Day, so I'll give them to her as a Mother's Day gift. Go ahead and get some shopping done out of the way, support those local businesses, and pocket those gift cards for later.
Cason Hightower, our guest on this morning's Community Voice, one of three candidates for State Representative District 18, covers a good portion of Haralson and Carroll County. And she's looking to replace Kevin Cook, who had that role for about 10 years.
He did, yeah.
She's one of three Republican candidates, also a Democrat candidate. Looking on the News Talk 1330 Facebook page, looking for comments here. Jeff Rainwater says hello, and he says vote Cason. District 68 State Rep Jay Collins says she has the wisdom beyond her years, and she will be a terrific representative.
Jay's very sweet.
We talked about looking for things to talk about as far as legislation that's going on right now. There might be some easy ones to dig out and talk about, but are you familiar with House Bill 244 and it talks with the state Georgia EMCs?
I have read a little bit about that.
Okay.
Yeah, I have.
And I did wonder, because it is something that would affect Carroll EMC and its customers. I'll try and explain it a little bit and see if you have a take on it. It's House Bill 244. The bill's sponsors say it would require electric membership corporations to comply with certain requirements in determining the rates for attachments to utility poles. It's encouraging people. They're suggesting they might be able to bring high-speed internet in, Haralson County, which would be your district, something they'd be excited about.
Absolutely.
The legislation dealing with pole attachments would subsidize costs for cable telecom providers. Now, supporters of the bill said it would remove unnecessary barriers to broadband access, reducing the cost of investment and providing predictability. The detractors of the bill say there are currently no provisions that guarantee that internet service providers would actually set up service to rural areas, despite the discounted pole fees, and they suggest either way that it could result in higher fees for EMC customers. I believe Comcast was a big supporter of this. And how much have you read on that? Have you talked to anybody locally, maybe our local EMC?
I haven't talked to anyone locally, but I've met a couple of them, and we'll definitely make some calls over to our local EMCs and kind of get their take on it. I've just read portions of the bill online and don't know. And
it may not be around next year. I mean, it could be poo-pooed on, or it's still just hanging around the Senate, because it did pass the House on March 12th. And it's worth mentioning that both Kevin Cook and Jay Collins voted against it. It is now assigned to a committee in the Senate. Another bill that might affect us locally, hotel motel taxes. Mm-hmm. The city of Bremen, at this point, they for hotel motel tax, cities, they can levy and collect an excise tax of a rate of up to 3% or at a rate of 5, 6, or 7 or 8%. I believe 8's the maximum. City of Bremen right now has a 5% hotel motel tax. They said they've wanted to do it for about 3 or 4 years, and they said if they could do it, they could probably get an extra $100,000 a year. They couldn't get Bill Heath to support it. He would have to bring it to legislators. The House reps would bring it. Kevin Cook supported it and brought it to the House, but Bill Heath wouldn't do it to get it passed for whatever reason. So if it's tried again next year, I'm assuming they're going to try it again next year. Heath will be out of office,
right.
So they'll try and get the next senator to do it, and they'll get their House rep to propose it as well. Is that something that you would favor for the city of Bremen?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think right there with I-20 going right through Bremen, I think getting that increased tax revenue from hotel motel tax would definitely be a positive for the city.
And everybody else, every other municipality is taking advantage of it. So they feel like they're missing out on some financial opportunity. Gambling laws, they're talking about that legislatively this year. Maybe been talking about that 2 or 3 years. How do you stand on that? As far as I guess the biggest benefit to that, they're saying it could go to Hope scholarships, could benefit Hope.
Sure. I'll be honest, and I was asked that question in an interview I did with the Times-Georgian, and I am one who believes that those types of decisions should be left here locally. I think if there was a referendum on the ballot for the people in this area to vote on that, because bringing a casino into this area isn't just going to affect, I believe someone had told me they were looking at some land in Bremen to potentially put a casino. That's not just going to affect the city of Bremen. That's going to affect all of Haralson County, all of Carroll County. I think the voters need to vote on that. That shouldn't be left up to a body in Atlanta to decide. That should be left up to the community, whether they want something like that or not.
So if it was brought up and it was laid out to bring it to the voters, you'd let the voters make that final decision. Cason Hightower, our guest on this morning's Community Voice program, one of 3 candidates who qualified last month, I believe it was. Yes. Seems like so long ago. Last month.
Still this month. It's still March.
It is still March. Qualified early this month to run for the state representative District 18 seat. Again, one of 3 Republican candidates. Lane Daniel also qualified. Tyler Paul Smith qualified, and of course, Cason Hightower did. On the Democrat side, Pat Rudy qualified, and she will be unchallenged in the primary. But we'll come back in our third segment here and wrap up our program with Cason. Questions and comments, call us at 678-601-8255, 678-601-TALK, or post your comments and questions on the News Talk 1330 WLBB Facebook page. We'll take that final break and come back with more.
At Tanner, we care about your health, so please wash your hands often with soap and water for at least 20 seconds, especially before eating, after bathroom breaks, blowing your nose, and after coughing or sneezing. If soap and water aren't available, use a hand sanitizer. Avoid touching your face with unwashed hands. Clean and disinfect surfaces and objects often. Cover your coughs and sneezes with a tissue or the crook of your elbow. Avoid people who are sick and stay home when you are sick, except to get medical care. See more ways to stay well online at tanner.org.
A well-rounded education includes much more than just academics. At Oak Mountain Academy, we encourage our students to find their niche in any of our 42 co-curricular opportunities. Over the past 5 years, we have brought home 5 state and 20 regional athletic titles. Our one-act play and literary teams continuously compete at the region and state level, and our academic teams bring home first place more than not. We are warriors creating legacies. To learn more, visit oakmountain.us.
$8:51. Welcome back to the WLBB Community Voice Program, News Talk 1330 FM 106.3. Also streaming live on the News Talk 1330 WLBB Facebook page. I'm Colin Worthington. Our guest this morning, Cason Hightower, one of 3 candidates for that District 18 state rep seat. Looking at Facebook one more time, Jennifer Cahall. Cason's an intelligent, well-spoken young lady who has an abundance of experience in the political field and will be an asset to the district and the state house. And that's the only new one. Yeah, that's the only new one. But we do have about 6-7 more minutes if you wanted to post your comment or question up on that News Talk 1330 Facebook page. Again, going back to your website, Georgia Values. That's another topic, something that you want to focus on. What are Georgia values? What are your values?
Absolutely. I'm a strong defender of the Second Amendment. I am undeniably pro-life, but I don't want to just say I'm pro-life. I believe that means supporting programs and implementing programs that would make that decision easier for a young lady to choose life. Things like right now we've got a wonderful program, the Pregnancy Resource Center here, that serves Carroll, Heard, and Haralson counties. I'm a big supporter of them and the work that they're doing over there. Just bringing in more education, more economic opportunities, making more information available about foster and adoption, providing, for a while, especially when I was growing up, I remember hearing that Carroll County had one of the highest teen pregnancy rates in the state of Georgia. And I want to make sure that those women, those young ladies, know what their options are and how important it is to choose life, and just educating them about that. I'm really passionate about that.
Cason Hightower, our guest on this morning's Community Voice program. We did talk about you encouraging people to reach out to you and communicate. And we encourage them this morning as well, but if they choose to reach out to you on Facebook or call you as you gave out your number. Anything else you're hearing? You said coronavirus was a big concern. Any other, maybe local concerns, any particular concerns, or are they just talking in general specifics of Second Amendment?
Yeah, I think right now we're just kind of in general specifics because, as you said earlier, with session going the way it's gone so far this year, we don't have a ton of talking points to come out of there. So I would just be happy to hear anyone's concerns about state or local issues.
Would you be open to going to a civic group if there were 8 people there? I mean, this number 10, I guess, I almost feel like it's so random at this point, but I mean, would you be open to a small group of people inviting you out to talk at all?
Absolutely. I'm a member of several civic groups and had been asked to speak at a couple of civic groups, and I know a lot of them have canceled their meetings for the foreseeable future, but if there is any group, I'm happy to come talk to 2 of you as long as you're willing. So, what kind of committees would you see yourself working well in? I think small business regulation. I'm really up for anything. I want to learn as much as I can about every issue that touches the state and touches this district. So I'd just be happy to learn. Who were a lot of your influence? Obviously, your parents. That was easy. You was one to go to. But locally, I think people like to hear somebody they recognized. Sure.
Had an influence and impact on your life.
Sure. I think Michelle Morgan is a big influence of mine.
Familiar with her?
Yeah. I think most people are. She's been a role model for sure. I think for a lot of young ladies in this community. I'm kind of thinking about Edie Haney is someone I've really looked up to for a long time. I think seeing women in leadership roles here recently, especially in our community, has been very inspiring to me.
I was thinking Betty Cason, namesake almost.
Yes, absolutely. My name comes from it was my grandmother's maiden name, so maybe somewhere down the line we're
connected. Somehow. Cason Hightower, our guest on this morning's Community Voice program. We're just about to run out of time, so. I joked with our last guest. We talk about if I bump into you on the street, what's the 2-minute pitch you're going to give me? But we're not going to bump in on the street. We're not going to shake hands. I'm going to have to call you and say, hey, yeah.
Elbow bump.
I'm going to have to call you and say, hey, Cason, why should I pick you? I've got 3 Republican candidates right now. Why should I pick you over these other 2 candidates?
I think we really need a business-minded person in Atlanta to get things done. And I have been back at our small family business for 4 years now, and I'm learning every day what it takes to run a small business. And I want to take what I'm learning to Atlanta and, help to cut burdensome regulation and help cut taxes to make the small businesses in this community thrive.
You may not be doing this anymore. I remember this maybe about a year ago. Were you involved with care pets, pet care? There's something to do with animals and.
Sure. Yeah, I have.
Is that still going on? Yeah.
We have a therapy dog at our funeral home, Ruby, and she. I just remember when there's not a coronavirus, she goes out to the schools and into nursing homes and visits with them. So
that's what it was. I mean, I saw pictures with the dog and kids actually.
Yeah. She does a reading program at the schools. So she's very, very special.
She's on hiatus at this point. She's taking a little break. Well, Cason, it's good to see you again.
Thank you so much for having me, Colin.
Thank you for coming out. We appreciate you listening to this morning's Community Voice program, News Talk 1330, FM 106.3. Our program sponsored by Tanner Health System and Oak Mountain Academy. And appreciate those of you tuning into News Talk 1330 WLBB's Facebook page. If you still do have a question, if you watch this later on today, I mean, we'll still have 1,000 people watch this in the next 3 hours or so. If you want to put a comment or question up there, I'm sure maybe you have the opportunity to look at those and answer those for people who missed out this morning.
I'd love to.
But again, thanks for coming out this morning.
Thank you.
And stay tuned now for Glenn Beck. Actually, national news first, local news, and then Glenn Beck is on the air, followed by Rush Limbaugh here on News Talk 1330 FM 106.3. Stay healthy, everybody. Have a great weekend.